Madrid, once again, public opinion is shaken by information said to come from within the Spanish royal family. Queen Letizia Ortiz, a woman who is praised for her image of iron discipline and absolute control, seems to be facing ghosts from the past that she has never really escaped. Accident in the night, and the last drink? According to what the local media recorded, over the weekend, a minor car collision occurred in an isolated area on the outskirts of Madrid, where important figures often seek to avoid the public spotlight. The driver, according to many unconfirmed sources, was a middle-aged woman with brown hair, wearing a wide hat and large dark glasses, features that many people said were surprisingly similar to the everyday image of Queen Letizia. The police arrived in time, and no one was seriously injured, but what made matters worse was the breathalyzer test results. The woman, believed to be Letizia, was clearly over the legal limit. An isolated incident, or a sign of something bigger? Although the royal family has not made any official statement, the prolonged silence has only added to the public's curiosity. It has also brought back years of speculation that behind her calm and stoic exterior, Letizia had a serious struggle with alcoholism, something the royal family has never publicly acknowledged. She always appeared perfect in public, refusing to drink at ceremonies and receptions, said a former royal protocol officer. But behind the scenes, it was a different story. I once saw her pour herself a glass of brandy and down it when she thought no one was looking. Another source, closer to the Madrid press, revealed, there are private parties, without cameras, without reporters. Letizia not only drinks, but drinks to the point of losing control. At times like that, she is no longer the queen, but just a woman trying to escape the pressure of the throne. The price of perfection. Letizia used to be a famous journalist, intelligent, brave and sharp. But when she entered the royal family, her new role forced her to put aside her past, even the very human, very ordinary parts. The image she built was a symbol of control and rigidity, from her strict diet to her cold behavior with the press. It was this strictness that made many people believe that she had given up drinking completely. But perhaps, it was all just part of a carefully calculated image strategy. Like a mask, Letizia's public sobriety may be a facade, and underneath lies a woman struggling with old nightmares that have never ended. Letizia always seemed like she didn't need help, said a psychologist who has worked with the royal family. But that's the clearest sign of someone who needs help. Alcohol is, for many, a last resort. Palaces no longer fortresses? The Spanish royal family has tried many times to protect its image through silence and denial. But in the age of social media, where information can be leaked and spread in an instant, that strategy no longer seems to work. Lively discussions have erupted online, with people sharing both frustration and sympathy for Letizia. She is human too. We should not demand perfection from someone who lives in a gilded cage. Read one comment that garnered thousands of likes. However, there are also many more harsh opinions. If she relapsed and drove while drunk, it would be an irresponsible act that cannot be forgiven. Anyone among us who did that would certainly be severely punished. The Queen, or Letizia the person? The question now is no longer, did Letizia drink, but, is she okay? And perhaps more importantly, who is there to help her through this? If what the media reports are true, then perhaps it is time for the royal family to change its approach. Not through denial or avoidance, but through recognition, empathy and real action. Because, whether she is the queen or a mother, a wife, Letizia is only human. And humans can always fall. The important thing is whether someone reaches out to help them get up. A private life, or a hidden loneliness? Close observers of the Spanish royal family have long noted that Letizia has been withdrawing from public life. She rarely smiles genuinely in public, and her appearances with her husband, King Felipe VI, have become increasingly rare and lacking in intimate interactions. The tabloids have speculated, Is the royal marriage cooling, or is Letizia secretly suffering from something deeper? An old friend, who studied journalism with her, told a Spanish TV show, "Letizia is not a weak person, but she keeps her true feelings inside. Not everyone can do that for a lifetime without paying a price. That price, perhaps, is mental fatigue, and alcohol has become a temporary remedy to help her breathe easier during the lonely hours behind the cold gilded gates." Children, and the royal future. What is even more worrying is the impact the affair, if true, will have on Letizia's two daughters, especially Princess Leonor, who is being groomed as Spain's future queen. Is a mother facing personal turmoil a suitable role model for a growing princess? Will the public continue to place their trust in a royal family whose perfection is just a layer of makeup? "I don't want Leonor to fall victim to the mistakes her mother made," wrote one commentator in El Mundo. "But I also hope that Letizia will be brave enough to face the truth, not because she is queen, but because she is a mother." Responsibility, and opportunity. If Letizia has indeed relapsed and engaged in dangerous behavior such as drunk driving, this is not just a personal tragedy but a serious social problem. Thousands of Spaniards lose loved ones every year in alcohol-related traffic accidents, and the fact that someone in such a high-profile position could make such a mistake could be the last straw in the eyes of the public. However, there is another way. Letizia, a woman who has inspired others as a journalist who is not afraid to speak out for justice, could choose to be herself again. Not hiding, not denying, but admitting her difficulties, seeking professional help and speaking up for those who are silently struggling like her. Perhaps Letizia herself, if she dares to take off her royal mask, could become a powerful voice for millions of people, especially women, who live under pressure and expectation, to the point of losing themselves. A new chapter? The palace has yet to issue an official statement, nor has there been any confirmation or denial from Letizia. As usual, she has chosen to remain silent. But silence is no longer a wise strategy. In a modern world where everything can be recorded, shared and spread, the truth, however difficult, remains the only way to retain public trust. If Letizia re-emerges with a clear, honest and courageous message, she may not only calm the rising storm, but also make people see her in a different light. No longer the cold queen, but a real woman, strong, but also vulnerable. The spotlight and the shadows behind the scenes. For many, Letizia's public image has always been a standard: elegant, discreet, neat in every detail, from her speech to her choice of clothes. But the more perfect she is, the easier it is to forget that behind that image is a woman with her own traumas, a controversial past and conflicts that have never been thoroughly resolved. Since entering the royal family, Letizia has had to give up a lot: the journalism job she loved, a free life, and above all, the right to live her truth. People still remember that when she was a war correspondent, Letizia dared to be present in the most dangerous places just to report truthfully. However, since becoming a symbol of the monarchy, she has been forced to restrain herself in every gesture and word, to the point that no one is sure who she really is. "You can't keep an image that has no way out," says a royal communications expert. When that image starts to crack, people look inside, and sometimes what they see is what the royal family fears the most: the truth. Pressure from within. In addition to enduring public expectations, Letizia also has to live with strict rules and tense relationships within the royal family. There are rumors of a tough relationship between her and her mother-in-law, Sofia, or between her and her husband's siblings.